Welcome back. Welcome back to Okano's Kitchen and Wyngate Farm. Before I get started in the kitchen, I wanted to make a little cider with my father's American harvester. We just finished picking a bunch of apples. They're falling off the trees, but we got to get back to the kitchen. The centerpiece today is a chicken pot pie. We're going to make some wild rice and some filet beans and a mystery gluten-free, dairy-free chocolate cake. So let's go back to the kitchen and get started. So in my book, every day is a good day to make samurai bread. So I think we should get started with samurai bread from the mix. So you can order your mix, and I have a special challenge today. If you watch this episode and you're the first person to watch it and you email me, I will send you a free samurai bread kit. How's that? Okay, so here's the mix. Dump it in a bowl, add hot water, mix, wait 50 minutes until it rises. Then you're gonna grease up your bread pan made right here in Vermont by a friend of ours down the road. Wet your fingers, and you're gonna stick your hands into this sticky dough, which has flaxseed and chia seed, so it's not just a white bread. And you're gonna spread that out into these pans. My mother actually had these pans made here in Vermont a long time ago when she was learning how to make this recipe from her mom, and then she taught us to make it, and we've been making it ever since. It's one of our favorite family recipes. It's really the legacy that I inherited from, it's my grandmother's legacy. So here you go. So here's samurai bread in the pan, ready to go, and we're gonna let that sit for about 10 minutes and then stick that in the oven. All right, we're going to start with chicken pot pie today. This recipe was one of my mother's old-time favorites, our favorite. Same crust, out of her recipe box. I always love these handmade recipe cards because it makes me feel like she's right there, my mom. So chicken pot pie, we have to start with good chicken, and we actually source this chicken from a local farm right down the road called Leaping Bear Farm. Hopefully we'll be able to visit Justin at the farm. But this delicious chicken that I've cooked in the oven, you know, I baked the chicken and then took all the pieces off, both the white and the dark meat. So that's cooked chicken. And then I'm sauteing up some carrots, onion, and celery. Basically gonna just add that to the chicken. To that, I'm gonna add this roux that I'm making on the stove. Now, roux is it's basically the sauce that goes in the chicken pot pie. And you start with a couple tablespoons of butter, a couple tablespoons of flour, and you can use gluten-free flour. It works the same. And then you're gonna take some of your homemade chicken broth and you add that in, and you keep stirring it until it forms this thick sauce. The trick that my mother did, though, she added a cup of white wine and some Worcestershire sauce. So that gives it a really nice depth of flavor. Got a lot going on here. I've got some onions on the back stove for my wild rice. But we're gonna pay attention to the roux for now. You gotta keep stirring it, otherwise it kind of clumps up. So you have to just keep stirring. It takes about maybe 10-15 minutes for it to thicken up nicely. And you can tell it's done when it kind of coats the spoon. So it's pretty good. I'm gonna put a little salt in there. Okay, I think that's ready. Now we're gonna pour that into our dish with the chicken and the vegetables. That's about 2 cups of the roux. Sprinkle with, guess what, herbs de Vermont. That's pretty funny. I've got to try that. It probably has the same basil, oregano, rosemary, thyme, and savory. Oh yeah, that'll be delicious. Herbs de Vermont. Well, Vermont was French. Anyway. And then I'm going to top it off with these frozen green peas for a little more veg. That makes it pretty and it's yummy. The green peas are delicious. This is a definitely comfort food. And then we're going to move on to the crust. I'm going to use a simple pie crust for the top of the chicken pot pie. This was also my mother's recipe, and it's a pretty easy one. You make it in the Cuisinart. I did it on another episode and just showed you how you can just put all the ingredients in the Cuisinart. You can make it dairy-free. I'm not sure about gluten-free. I haven't figured out a gluten-free crust yet, but just kind of go around with your rolling pin. You want to make it so it's big enough to go around your bowl. So here's my chicken pot pie. I'm going to taste it because I didn't taste it before to just test for salt and pepper. Needs a little salt and a little pepper. Now this is a great one to freeze. You could actually make it up to this stage with the crust and then stick it in the freezer and then have it to cook whenever you want. Bring it over to a friend who's, had a baby or back from the hospital. Great comfort food. So rolling up the crust, and then I'm just gonna fold that over the top of the chicken pot pie. Again, like any pie, you need to let it breathe. So I'm gonna make some holes in the top. And this time, because the crust is so good, I'm just gonna actually, instead of cutting it off, I'm gonna make a thick crust around the edge. My son Gus, I always talk about Gus but he loves crust. And so I like to make it extra thick on top for him. It's also it's nice to dip in the sauce once it's cooked. It's really yummy. Okay, either freeze it or we'll stick it in the oven at 400 degrees for about an hour. There's my beautiful pie, and I'm gonna stick that in the oven. Here we go. Delicious. Okay. Now we're gonna start on a dessert that I just discovered from a friend of mine, Frances Schultz, who wrote a cookbook called California Cooking in Southern Style. And I love this cake because you can make it gluten-free. So we're gonna start with the eggs and the sugar in my little handy-dandy mixer. And this is some brown sugar and egg. And you're gonna blend that until it turns kind of a creamy color. Okay, so you can see this creamy color, the eggs and the sugar. Now I'm gonna fold in the chocolate. This is a chocolate and actually dairy-free butter that I put in. Earth Balance is my favorite plant butter. So this can be gluten and dairy-free. Yummy chocolate. Who doesn't like chocolate? Okay, I can never get enough chocolate recipes, so I'm always looking for new ones. Thank you, Frances. I'm gonna put in 5 tablespoons of almond flour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn the mixer back on. I'm gonna make sure that I'm getting all the edges in there. Okay. Now that's ready. Move over to this side. Okay. Now we're going to add in a little Grand Marnier. And her recipe uses Sambuca, so I guess you can use Sambuca too, but I'm going to put some Grand Marnier in. And a little vanilla. Mix that up. So I separated the eggs, and these are the egg whites that I'm going to mix until they're stiff. So they form, I guess the term is stiff peaks. So that's pretty good. Yep. Oh. Okay, then we're gonna fold in half of these egg whites into the chocolate and kind of fold that in. Slowly fold it in so it's nice and fold in the rest. This is kind of what makes it light. And we'll get a bigger spoon. That's not doing the trick for me. So I'm going to use my spatula until that loosens that up. Okay. Now I've prepared this springform pan, put some parchment paper on the bottom, buttered the sides, and then sprinkled a little sugar along the sides of the edges of the pan. And now I'm just going to pour this mixture into the pan and gently spread it out. And this is going to bake at 350 for about 40 minutes. Make Making sure that that's spread out on the whole pan. Yum. I'm gonna serve this up with a little whipped cream, maybe some strawberry sauce on the side. Yum, so that's ready for the oven. Got the oven on. It's already at 400. It's got the chicken pot pie in there. So we're gonna move that over and set that in the oven. I'm just about to take the chicken pot pie out of the oven, and I'm just getting to my sides. Now I found this beautiful wild rice from a farm in Minnesota, and wild rice actually swells to 4 times its size. And when the pioneers used to eat wild rice, they called it pocket money because it would feed so many people. And it's actually the seed of an aquatic grass. It's delicious. It's got a beautiful smoky flavor, and I'm going to season it with these sauteed onions, sweet onions, and then some dried cranberries. So that will be the yummy side. And then I have these green beans that I've just briefly steamed, don't want mushy green beans, and sauteed with a little garlic and salt and pepper. Okay, so that's ready. Now we're going to take out our chicken pot pie to go with these yummy sides. I've already taken out the dark chocolate mystery cake that we'll cut up a little later, but let's look at for the chicken pot pie. Oh yeah, there we go. Chicken pot pie, Sumiko's chicken pot pie. Delicious. And we're gonna serve that with our wild rice and dried cranberries. And not mushy green beans sauteed with garlic and salt. Let's get that dished up. Okay, I'm gonna cut that into that. Look at the crust. So nice and tender. Fresh organic chicken. Peas, carrots, celery. Great comfort food. Some beautiful wild rice. Cranberries. Sauteed onions. And garlicky green beans. I might have to take a taste of this chocolate cake. I don't know if anybody else wants to join me. It's looking pretty good. And I recently discovered this ready whip made with coconut milk for the non-dairy people in the world. So we're gonna serve it up with a little bit of non-dairy whipped cream. Voila. Thank you for joining me at Okano's Kitchen. Chicken pot pie, wild rice, green beans, a dark chocolate mystery cake that's gluten-free and dairy-free. But we can't miss what we started with, which is apple cider. And I think Phil has a whole pitcher of fresh cider for us to taste, so let's go try some. Hey Phil, how about some of that fresh apple cider?
Okay, here you go.
I'd love to try some. Oh. Delicious. Let's see, you want to go first?
I do.
Delicious. Thanks for joining us at Wyngate Farm. See you next time.
Welcome to the Mountain Guides. They operate 5 mountain guiding companies in the American West. The Mountain Guides of Utah, the Mountain Guides of Red Rock, the Mountain Guides of Montana, the Mountain Guides of Colorado. Their flagship operation in Jackson Hole is based in Jackson and leading trips all over
The high peaks of the Rocky Mountains.
Join their custom mountain adventures led by experienced guides in the iconic destinations. For more information, log on to themountainguides.com.